My multi-million-dollar secret. How my brothers scheme. Backfired, growing up in a small village, everyone knew everyone. That could be a blessing or a curse. My dad, a hard-working but quiet man, is considering retirement, while my mom is his complete opposite, the heart of our traditional home. They're good people, and I love them, but I always felt like the family's disappointment, especially compared to my older brother, the golden boy. He's 40, settled with a calm wife, and has two sports-obsessed boys who, frankly, are a handful. My brother, a car salesman, fancies himself my life coach, but his mentorship feels more like a never-ending project where I'm constantly in need of his help and should be grateful for any crumbs of his time. He'd brag about his lavish life, his big house, fancy cars, powerboat, ATVs, and his trophy wife, leaving me feeling even more isolated. I was the sensitive kid, prone to tears, always making excuses for why things went wrong. I wasn't tough, athletic, or popular. Instead, I was often picked on and excluded. Having asthma only made me feel more alienated, and my parents never really took it seriously. On top of that, I've battled depression for as long as I can remember. My parents often compared me to my brother, highlighting his intelligence and outgoing nature while I struggled to measure up. School was tough, and I graduated high school with a dismal 2.5 GPA. I saved up some cash for college, but dropped out in my second year, which caused a huge family uproar. My younger sister, the family princess, was still a teenager when I left home, so I don't know her well. As an adult, I see she's a bit overindulged, but not a bad person. Maybe it's easier for her to treat me like our parents and brother do, rather than becoming a target herself. She got married at 19, had a beautiful wedding, and now has 3 kids. Oddly, I relate most to her middle child, who also seems to get picked on a lot. Maybe because her struggles mirror mine, I feel a deeper connection to her. From comic books to CTO, my unseen success after college, I fully embraced my nerdy side. I loved working at a local comic book and video game store for over 7 years until it closed. Even now, my parents still talk as if I worked there. The best part of that job was meeting another ambitious geek, my future business partner. We co-founded a successful IT support company, which we eventually sold to a larger corporation. I got a great deal, including a significant payout in cash and stock options. With that, I started several side projects and made smart investments, many of which were quite profitable. I don't like to brag, but I have over $1 million in assets. Currently, I'm the CTO of a brand new private startup. Despite my wealth, I live a modest life. My comfortable 2-bedroom home is furnished with used items, and I drive a 15-year-old Saturn. I'm not in a relationship right now. My life is busy, and I regularly see my therapist. Besides my ongoing struggles with depression and asthma, I also deal with a drinking problem, which my parents, unfortunately, don't take seriously. They dismiss it as all mental. Regardless of what others expect, I've built a successful career. Despite life's ups and downs, my parents, however, still insist I join them for Sunday dinner every week. They live on the other side of the state, so it's a 90 to 120-minute drive each way, eating up half my weekend. They seem to think that, as an unmarried mental case, as my brother likes to call me, I have nothing better to do. These dinners are often difficult. For 3 hours, I either get unsolicited advice on marriage and being a proper adult, or I endure lengthy monologues about my brother's latest car sales triumphs. They've never explicitly called me a mooch, but the implication is always there if I skip a dinner. It's frustrating and perplexing, and I often wonder why I even bother going. When I talk to my therapist, I realize my family tends to downplay or misrepresent all my achievements. People back home still think I work at the long-gone game store. My brother's successful career meant I was constantly mocked for my retail background. It was hard to convey the truth about my life and accomplishments to them. They dismissed games and comics as immature entertainment, and despite my genuine expertise in technology, my attempts to discuss it were usually overshadowed. My brother would interrupt and act like I knew nothing, even when he was babbling nonsense. I usually just listened, afraid to correct him because it would mean explaining my work and defending my knowledge. Deep down, I worried they wouldn't value my career, and it would change their opinion of me. I'll admit, I've had my struggles and been a complete mess at times. The truth comes out. A family. Unravels, everything changed last month. My brother somehow got hold of my personal information. The truth is, he hired a private investigator for what he claimed was a background check on my employment. I had a sneaking suspicion he was orchestrating an intervention with my parents. But they were completely unprepared for what the investigator uncovered, my true worth, the fact that I didn't live in a rundown apartment, and other private details. The irony wasn't lost on me, working in security myself. After making some connections, I even managed to trace the source of the hack through notifications about unauthorized attempts to access my credit report. Everything clicked. And now I'm dealing with my family's sudden and unexpected shift in how they view me. It's a lot to process, especially given our history of miscommunication and undervaluation. Furious about the breach of my privacy, I decided to have the same private detective firm investigate my brother's finances. It turns out he was living well beyond his means. The investigation also uncovered a file with Child Protective Services, several past arrests for DWI and public intoxication, and domestic disturbance calls. He was struggling with overdue IRS payments and juggling 3 mortgage loans on his house. While there were no current charges, his credit was a complete disaster. In contrast, my parents were exactly as I knew them, modest and pragmatic with their money. I was so focused on preparing to confront my family at the next dinner, hoping it would create a rift, that I didn't even check in on my sister. But the dinner's atmosphere was completely different from what I'd imagined. My parents began treating me with a strange reverence, as if I were now the golden child. This shift clearly bothered my brother. Midway through dinner, in an attempt to salvage his reputation, he started boasting about recent sales commissions and a supposed promotion. I simply congratulated him and tactfully mentioned his debt, IRS problems, and stretched credit. In other words, I highlighted his financial woes while simultaneously celebrating his supposed achievements. The whole thing was oddly grim. Aftermath and new beginnings. My parents' sudden and seemingly artificial change in behavior toward me made the already challenging family dynamic even more awkward. At first, my brother denied everything when I handed him a copy of the report, but I pointed out that by using the agency to investigate me, he had inadvertently given me the idea. I have to admit, that felt good for a little while. My parents, who clearly knew about it too, reprimanded him with dramatic shock. The whole thing became deeply unsettling because the report required my Social Security number. It wasn't a pleasant revelation or the ensuing argument, as it exposed my family's greed and cowardice. My disdain for them grew. Over the next hour, they started accusing one another of various things. I tried my best to stay quiet, but sometimes they'd get angry with me. When that happened, I'd either shrug or respond with a nonchalant one-word comment. My sister's husband, my brother's wife, and their 5 kids watched in shock as our family disintegrated like never before. Our gatherings were usually routine and uninteresting. My sister would give updates when she could, my brother and his. Wife would brag about their lives, my mom would strike up a conversation, and my dad would complain in response. This collapse had never happened during one of our family dinners. It was a tumultuous meal, to say the least, as long-simmering, deeply ingrained issues exploded into the open. The usual subtle jabs about how I should look up to my brother and be a real man were replaced by astonished silence. I got into a heated disagreement with my dad, my brother, and myself. They dug up every relic of family strife from the past 30 years and argued over who was responsible for everything. It was like watching an unruly drama play out in real time. All my negative thoughts about my family seemed to be validated during These moments, honestly, I felt terrible, even though you might expect me to feel some sort of justice or triumph. I realized I had handled the situation poorly. While I was well aware of these flaws, what had I truly meant to accomplish by making my brother's wrongdoings public? His children now know about his tumultuous history, which I hadn't wanted them to. When my brother yelled at me in a fit of rage, the situation reached a breaking point. His harsh statements, such as, "You should have never been born," were stunning. But what really stuck out were my parents' desperate attempts to calm him down, a degree of desperation I had never witnessed before. He accused me of being the cause of all the family's problems. They tried to intervene, but they never truly admitted or accepted responsibility for the way they had treated me throughout the years. I was both very saddened and vindicated. It served as a harsh and obvious reminder of the underlying problems in our family's dynamics. My parents accused me of something else until I couldn't take it anymore. They implied that I could have helped but chose not to, claiming I was refusing to help a sick niece or nephew. I had no knowledge of such a circumstance. No one had ever told me about this issue or reached out to me for help. I suspected they were making things up as they went along, but I didn't challenge it. "I thought you believed I was still working at the comic book shop," I reminded them instead. They never seemed to understand that the store had closed in 2011, even though I had reminded them several times. The way they had misrepresented our family history to fit their storyline appalled me. I drove home feeling overburdened and annoyed. Navigating the future. Boundaries and new beginnings. I'm feeling conflicted right now. Knowing that they'll probably pressure me to repay them now that they're aware of my money makes me feel deceived. I know what's coming because I've witnessed how they treated my brother in a similar manner. However, I also recognize and value the fact that my parents provided for my basic needs as a child, including clothing, food, and housing. It will be difficult to navigate this labyrinth of thankfulness, bitterness, and freshly set boundaries. I'll probably need my therapist's assistance to process this change in dynamics. It's obvious that establishing clear limits going forward will be essential. Growing up was challenging because, to be honest, I was never the favorite child in my family. My brother mistreated me, but my parents did little to stop it, even though they never physically beat me. My parents responded as though nothing was wrong, whether he kicked, hit, or said extremely terrible things. It's truly concerning that they don't consider verbal abuse to be damaging or real. Verbal abuse is terrible in and of itself, but it's even more painful when the people who are there to protect you choose to ignore it. I've had enough of fighting this for years. Even though I know they are my family, I feel the need to keep a permanent distance. While I wish them well, I think it will be better for me to move on and begin a new chapter without them. If I find someone amazing, like a girlfriend, and we decide to get married and have kids, how will I deal with these problems with my family? It may get rather complicated, so I'm attempting to figure it out. How can I introduce my new family to my family if I'm not talking to them anymore? I have a lot of questions about what lies ahead. An outsider's advice for moving forward. Before reading the update, let me give you some advice. Your family didn't appreciate you as a person if they merely wanted you around to boost their self-esteem. They want you around to take advantage of your wealth now that they are aware of your financial achievement. You are not defined by your family. According to everything you've said, they, not you, are the issue. You come across as a good-hearted, diligent individual who endured harsh treatment in your family circumstances. Put your phone away and carry on with your life. You've done a great job creating your own life. Reduce the amount of time you spend with your family as much as you like. They only want your money, and you know it. As a result, you can communicate with them however you see fit. Stay in touch with your therapist to help you move into a life where they don't hold you back. Steer clear of pointless conversations if at all possible. Think about relocating to a new place, packing up your things, and starting over. You are not alone if you have to make tough choices, because many people struggle with their families. When it comes to dating, explaining these dynamics to a potential spouse might be challenging, particularly if they have tight family ties. But you will start your own family when the time is right. Actionable steps for your future. Security freeze. Your credit. If you haven't already, put a security freeze on your credit accounts. Report misconduct. If your brother used dealership resources to collect information about you, let the appropriate parties know. The dealership is unlikely to be amenable to being implicated if his activities involved fraud. Consult an attorney. Speak with an attorney. Despite your youth, mishaps do occur. Your parents would currently inherit your assets as your default. Next of kin. Put it in writing as soon as you can if you would rather have someone else be the beneficiary. Find a trustworthy counselor. You may feel sad about being apart from your family in the upcoming months. Speaking with an expert will assist you in processing this. Update. Forging a new path, following the family dinner argument, getting home was like leaving a battle zone. I flew across the quiet nighttime road with nothing but my thoughts. As soon as I pulled into my driveway, I knew something needed to change. If I didn't want to go insane, I had to stop throwing family dinners. Over the next 2 weeks, I focused on my work and mental well-being. Not only were the gadgets and comic books strewn over my home visually appealing, but they served as a sanctuary for me. To figure out how to separate from my family without totally alienating them, I stepped up my therapy appointments. During this period, my therapist, Dr. Bennett, was really helpful. He used methods that felt more like building a fort than a wall to help me set boundaries. My mind started to go toward the future more, especially relationships as the weeks went by and the temperature rose. I began to think that meeting someone amazing was not just possible, but likely after spending time by myself and without a partner. Then, like something from a comic book, Ava showed up. Ava and I met at a technology conference. Her cybersecurity talk captivated me, not just because of the topic, but also because of her charisma. She was smart and grounded, understood me, and had a love-centered view of families that was restrained by firm boundaries. Introducing Ava and setting boundaries. As Ava's situation worsened, the unspoken problem was how to introduce her to my family's circus. We discussed how to deal with it over numerous pizza-eating evenings. We made the decision to have short, visible, and casual family get-togethers. Everything changed when Ava even offered to help me. Our initial interactions were straightforward coffee dates. I reintroduced myself to family gatherings while Ava was around. Naturally, the first few times were really uncomfortable. My parents were too polite and wary, as though I might vanish at any moment. In contrast, my brother looked to be attempting to express a lot but was having trouble finding the perfect words. But my sister and her kids were a pleasant diversion. My sister's middle child, who looked a lot like me, was instantly won over by Ava. We became accustomed to these coffee dates, which were like short forays into family territory, a brief coming and going. I was able to reconnect without becoming entangled in the chaos thanks to this strategy. Unexpectedly, it started to function. My family adjusted to the arrangement over time. Maybe they understood that this was the only way they could continue to have me in their life. They began to be mindful of my limits. As things got better, I started to consider the long term more. What might the future hold for us together? With Ava, I envisioned building a solid family foundation based on respect and caring for one another, rather than obligation and guilt. I knew there would be difficulties, of course. Ava and I talked about the prospect of living together one summer evening when we were walking by the lake. I was struck by how far I had come, from feeling abandoned by my family to being able to stand on my own with a better sense of who I was. It seemed like day and night. I have a cautious sense of optimism for the future. I feel prepared, even though I know the road ahead may be rough, with possible potholes the size of craters. Setting limits with my family after Ava was more than just a matter of protecting myself. It was about making room for new connections and a fulfilling future for myself. The infamous Sunday meals are still planned, but they now take place according to my preferences. I go occasionally and don't go other times. I bring Ava along to family dinners and we discuss any issues that arise. Even though there has been a lot of improvement, there are still issues. The secret is finding that balance, keeping things harmonious without becoming overpowered. A new family's challenges, a divorce story. Hi everyone. I'm still learning how to share stuff online, so please be patient with me. I want to tell you everything that's going on in my life at the moment. Let's start by introducing the main characters. I am the storyteller. Peach is our daughter, Mario is our son, and Daisy is my soon-to-be ex-wife. We are currently going through a challenging separation that is quickly turning into a very acrimonious divorce. The main reason Daisy and I are divorcing is that she accepted her bisexuality earlier this year. She expressed her desire for our marriage to be open to me directly. I was not at all comfortable with that notion. When I learned that Daisy had slept with my co-worker, who is also one of my closest friends, the situation got even worse. That must have been terrible and awkward. It seemed like a betrayal from both my household and my place of employment as a police officer. We were unable to stay together after that. I took a break to think things out. Daisy did everything she could to keep us together at first, but when it became apparent that I was adamant about not opening our marriage, despite her reasons and entreaties, things took a nasty turn. Daisy's perspective had changed. She became bitter, and the last thing I wanted was for her to start playing pawns with our kids. Daisy started telling Peach that she had to leave our home because I no longer loved them. I detested them, she said, and I was destroying our family. It was heartbreaking to hear that, especially in light of Peach's obvious confusion and grief. Our kids frequently visit Daisy's mother's home, where she currently resides. Daisy and her new friend attempt to make these visits seem like a huge, thrilling vacation, presumably in an attempt to play the cool parents and turn Peach and Mario against me. They lavish them with toys and candy. The custody battle. Protecting. My children, in addition to our mental struggle, Daisy and I disagree on nearly everything. This involves deciding who should inherit what belongings and how much money one of us should contribute to support the other. The hardest part, though, is choosing how to split up Mario and Peach's time. Daisy fights back against every compromise we try to reach. She seems to be making things more difficult for herself. Daisy has been telling our kids things lately that make me the bad guy, which is unjust. For example, Peach and Mario have been asking me whether I don't like Daisy's new friend, AP. Let's call them AP. AP seems to adore them more than I do, for whatever reason. Such talk is a major disturbance to their minds. I was working on a big project at work a few weeks ago. I was working much more overtime in my pursuit of a promotion from police officer to homicide investigator. Daisy and I agreed that the kids would spend this busy time with her and come see me on the weekends. I would stop by when it was time for them to go for Daisy's. Mario exclaimed, tears in his eyes, "Are you taking us away because you hate us like your mother says?" As I handed him his luggage, a big one I had packed for him. The moment was heartbreaking. I hugged him tightly and assured him that I truly loved him, even though it wasn't true. It was strange. Despite my best efforts to visit them last weekend, it was really challenging. It hurt a lot that they didn't say much to me. They didn't seem to want to see me at all. It wasn't until today that I had another opportunity to talk to them. They both looked very sad as I lifted them up. I could now talk to them. As I picked them up, it was clear that Peach is having difficulties, even while she still shows her love for me. Daisy seems to be making it harder for her to do so. Given how difficult the situation is, I'm attempting to decide on the best course of action to reduce the harm to the kids. This kind of twisting of family dynamics can be extremely challenging. Peach is having a lot of trouble because she believes she is incapable of loving me. I can no longer watch helplessly as my princess endures pain. Since this divorce is purposefully harming them, I'm beginning to have my doubts. Do I need to take the divorce further? Is it possible to proceed while keeping my kids safe, or should I just stay and accept it? Crucial advice for your divorce. Now, for the comment, you need to tell your divorce attorney about all of this right away. This is parental alienation, and a judge will definitely order it to halt. But it will probably be hard to enforce. You have to get started on this right away and keep going. Daisy is acting in a way that is really damaging. Make sure you pursue the divorce and keep all the paperwork. It will only become worse if you stay. This is known as parental alienation, and it played a significant role in my friend's child custody victory because his ex-wife was acting in a similar manner. Engage a lawyer as soon as possible and record Daisy's actions. Seek the children's medical attention. This is a very bad position for them. Your kids shouldn't be left with her unattended. Tell your lawyer what she did. Inform CPS about her treatment of the kids if necessary. Never again let her actions go unchecked for the sake of your kids. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.